Welcome, one and all, to the greatest show of all. That's actually not a very good intro, but that's okay. It is perfect to live life and make mistakes. I'm your host, Chad Ever Broshears, or Sir Chad Ever Broshears for some. This is the Maturity Project. So, it's interesting because I've had to make a promise to myself, and I've made a couple of promises to people in my life that upon engaging in conversation with me and the fruits of those conversations, that I have been encouraged significantly to continue and just to talk. The internet is full of people that they talk like that their way of thinking is it. And there is only one way to do something right, and of the variations of that type of thinking. And look, if you're in the perspective that there is only one way, then you're going to just drive that way. But just like driving in general, we typically have a way to get someplace that you can get around in some method. Even if you can't drive, you could probably take a boat to it, or a flight, or go on foot or swim or whatever, right? You'll have a method to achieve getting to this particular place, wherever that might be. But in our standard day-to-day life, we live with something closer to just a roadmap. It's like, okay, well, what directions do we need to go in order to get to this certain place that we want to get to? And then you just drive. You drive along and you figure it out. You got some detours that show up, and you're redirected into a different route. And, it's like those things can be a little uncomfortable because we're attached to getting to our destination by a specific time in our head. And then you can't take the route that you're as familiar with, and you have to take another one. And there's degrees or some modicum of discomfort or inconvenience to achieve that part of the destination. Now, let's talk about life. What you have right now is the skill sets that have been given to you by your parents through general observation and conditioning in our adolescence, and our position to hold somebody in a position of authority, and just a lot of the development that we've gone through, we've learned through from all kinds of people and all kinds of experiences in our life. So we have the ability to rationalize life based off of the circumstances of those thinking patterns and experiences, and the tools that come with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing is that, and it's not the only, the thing is that it becomes challenging because people want to find another way there. The one that I am the most concerned about is the people that want to get there with less effort, in the way of actually not putting in work or effort. Because they seem to have been sold a bill of goods. If you look at when somebody's a CEO and you see their ability to navigate through things that are they don't seem to be challenging, and when you do see challenge, you don't realize the big picture of what they're challenged by. You just see that they're dealing with something, but you see some of the standard stuff that comes along, and they just move right through it. They move through it as if it's not even a challenge. In a lot of things, but it's usually not taken note of because you're not paying attention to how they be in certain ways, unless you're really focused on the task that person's doing, and then you see how effortless they do it. Now, they have to have a deep understanding of how the company works to actually be a CEO. Doesn't mean they need to know every little nuance. They just have to have a deep understanding of how the company works. So, that being said, back to our conditioning. You have the methods that you currently have, and you'll have your goals. And most of us have some type of extraordinary goal to do with our life in some way. It's going to have something typical of achieving some degree of excellence, where you truly have excelled, and it validates you. Now, there's nothing wrong with having those goals. Be adaptive. That's one of the best methods, and best traits that I could suggest for anybody who has any kind of goals that are extraordinary. Be adaptive. Be ready to adapt to the circumstances that are in front of you. And then give yourself an allowance. And you know what? Not even allowance. Just give yourself forgiveness for making mistakes, but do not let yourself off the hook in such a way that you offset the impact of the lesson. You don't want to grind yourself into pulp because of a lesson. Most of us don't do that well with it. But you do want to have enough of the weight of the lesson that it is easier to claim in the situation that is similar to or identical to the issue that that particular lesson was born. So circumstances about specific things that you had to go through, those things will likely show up again, but when they show up again, if you take the lesson on, you will likely end up with a easier method for dealing with that situation. The goal is to continue to grow every time that particular type of situation shows up to the point that you move fluidly through whatever that challenge is. And then it becomes just something. Instead of a challenge, it just becomes a task, or it just becomes part of the process. It becomes a piece of the plan versus the disruptor to the plan. The only way to get to that is to face these things. You have to take them on. Some of us have innate skill sets and or just specific traits that support more ease when dealing with something that may cause somebody else greater, challenges. There's nothing wrong with that either. Don't measure yourself by them in a way that it defeats you. Just that actually create that level of ability. And this gets deep too. It gets to the point where, okay, perhaps they have an equal amount of skill sets, which is practically impossible, but we'll say for the conversation's purpose here, they have an equal amount of skill sets with the equal amount of adaptability to each one of those skill sets that are necessary to be successful with this, whatever this thing is. But if that person has a higher tolerance to stress than you do, they will seem to function better than you, and arguably, they will function better than you on the front end. On the back end, that stress can be the pressure, the discomfort, the undesirable that helps teach a lesson to actually further develop you, that can excel you past that person that doesn't deal with stress the same as you do. They actually have more of a tolerance to stress without the obvious discomfort and or even the awareness of discomfort to that stress. They just have that particular trait that's different than you. Cost and benefit. On the front end, the benefit is they actually have typically a cleaner way of functioning because they don't have the stress and the emotion that typically is associated with whatever that is. When the stress shows up, there's typically an emotion associated with that as well. The more of that emotion, the more likely it is to be greater of a stressor than it is for somebody that doesn't have as much emotion attached to it. There's a lot of ways to do this life. The greatest advice I can give people is stay curious and accept mistakes. You should actually embrace them, in my opinion. I embrace mistakes. I look for them. I look for opportunities for mistakes, but not in the way that is intentional to sabotage. But this happened, and I'm okay that there was a mistake here, and I will overcome this by studying what that is, because I will learn. And my drive for growth has never been higher than it is now. And I've always had a desire for growth, but now it's just accumulating. At 44 years old, that's all I do all day long, is I look for opportunities and places to grow. And if I find some place that makes me uncomfortable, typically I put a little bit more effort to be there, to be present while I'm there, whatever that is, because that's where my work is. My habits going to the gym, they're there because they're so ingrained that it doesn't feel like a lot of laborious effort to get there. It's just go. It's part of the process. I shoot for the same desires and the same kind of experiences that I have in life, so that's like my going to the gym routine. It's good. I'm good with it. I am not challenged by the effort necessary to be better at something specific, and it's strengthening to the point that it's uncomfortable when I don't do it. Same as making these videos. I don't know who all's going to be impacted by the video. I would love to know. It would be wonderful, but I think that's also fairly, it's something that is likely not going to be possible, just because as the video's online, it has however long it has the ability to impact people. It's not really a dated piece of material when we talk about human beings. It's more of collecting into the archives of a conglomeration of knowledge and information and insights. So I'm not saying that my method for life is the best one for everybody, although it's hard for me to fathom another way that's better, because I look for the 8 areas of maturity and I apply myself in each one of those areas and look for how they combine to each other and compound the effects of one another, and or the negatives of it too when they're not there, and how they can combine with other areas of maturity and then compound into that and make it seem much more challenging. But it's work and I like it. So that's why I find it so hard to think that there's other methods that would be more or be superior, because I feel like my perspectives on life have a greater foundational value, because it's the 8 areas of human maturity that, once known, you can apply effort into changing and development. Oh, anyway. So be okay with making some mistakes. They're good. Mistakes are great. They are absolutely great, because you grow from them if you choose. If you hate mistakes and you do everything you can to avoid them, yeah, they're not going to seem great, and you're missing the point. You're missing the lesson. Just do everything you can not to miss your lesson. That's my advice. Keep looking for your lessons. They're right in front of you. They actually are right in front of you, and they always will be, and they always have been. It's your choice of what you do with it. If you're in that victim position, you're not going to grow. You'll strengthen your abilities to be a victim, but you will not strengthen your abilities to be much more than that. And if you want to be a damsel in distress, man or woman, doesn't matter. If you want to be a damsel in distress, that's your choice, but I will tell you it's pretty disabling. There are benefits to being a damsel in distress, by the way. Some of that is so that, especially for women, it can demonstrate for them that the person that is at their to be their savior, that person in particular has a specific set of attributes that are being measured in that process of saving her, that is demonstrating his abilities to be her partner. And she's wanting to find those things. Plus, also, a damsel in distress typically has areas to be saved from that his attributes can facilitate, creating a whole in partnership, so that they can actually play the specific roles that work well, so that partnership is healthy, versus roles that compete with each other that make conflict, and then therefore partnership is challenging and or unhealthy. So, all right, till next time, let's embrace some mistakes. Let's find them. Let's be okay with them. Be gracious with them. Give yourself an opportunity to really examine the mistake, and then look for what led you into that thinking and that put you at the position that you're in. Whatever the measurement of mistake is, what would the outcome look like had it been successful? What do you have as an ability to make that success model work? What do you need to know in order to make it work? And then what would it be like once you've made it work? It's not like you get to the last boss of the game, and then you got, you have what you have, and then you beat it, and then all of a sudden it's all over and the credits roll. I mean, I'm not ready for that stage of my life. I want to keep doing this stuff and getting to these different area bosses, if you will, if you had to use a video game analogy, But yeah, I'd rather just keep taking on harder and harder challenges that are in my current environment. I don't want the end credits yet. I don't want to get to the final boss. I really am looking to create the greatest opportunities possible for everybody when I'm around. So if you catch me in public and you see me, and I know that if you see me go in the restroom and there's trash on the floor, yeah, there's 99.999% chance that I picked that trash up and it's not there anymore. That's because I want everything to be better, that I have existed, and that I'd be present, that I'd be there. Same goes for the way I interact with people. I hope that they take something away with every single interaction that helps, facilitate a more desirable outcome. The gift of graciousness, of accepting somebody, and then the offering of perspective that might free them up. But I don't go around giving unsolicited advice either, if it genuinely opens up into the conversation, but there's no forced effort. And typically I ask if they be open to it. So, all right, let's make some mistakes. Let's have some fun. success is on the other side of making enough mistakes to realize exactly how to be the successful model or be the person that makes the success out of it. So, all right, until next time, I'm your host, Chad Everett Broshears, or Sir Chad Everett Broshears to some. This is the Maturity Project. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please do subscribe. Share the video if this is a great icebreaker for you to get to the point where you can actually have a conversation with somebody that's meaningful enough that this is a subject that helps you get there. Do feel free, share the video with them, use it, break the ice, even if you need to talk about me, in any way other than desirable, just so that you can further that conversation. If that be the case, that's fine. Just start the conversation. All right, we got a world to save, really. We got a world to work on, but we really got to work on ourselves first. So, all right, till next time. We'll see you. Let's get to it.